All right. Thank you. Thanks for coming, everyone. I know that, is this the last one of the day? Yeah, unless you were on like one of those touring things, right? So I want to thank you for coming, and I'm looking forward to this conversation that we're going to have, because it's not me just presenting, because there's a lot of pieces to fill in here. So we're going to start with asking how many of you have heard of CVC or CVC-OEI. I have a few people in the room, and then online, you could just raise your hand or something. You've heard of it? Yeah. How would you define it? Like, what is it when somebody asks you, what is CVC-OEI? Like, what would you say?
I'll try and be concise.
Right.
A bunch of stuff that helps you design an online course that's equitable to students and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know, when I was thinking about the title of this presentation and, you know, trying to be a little witty about it, my family and I, we watched the movie again last night, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And when I watched it last night, I was able to make even more connections. And that's how I knew that the title of this presentation that I submitted back in April still fit. So CVC-OEI, you're absolutely right. It is about online course development. It's, I should have introduced myself. I'm so sorry. I'm Jody Steele. I'm the Director of Distance Education and Instructional Technology. So sorry about that. And then on the computer over here is Sue Yang. She's our instructional designer. And then John Wilson is here too. He's our academic technology support specialist. All of us hang out over in Library 141 and we enjoy company. So come on over if you have any questions. If we can't answer them, then we'll know the second contact to send you to. Pretty well versed around here. So I'm sorry about that. I should have just, did you have a raised hand?
Yes, someone in the online, James, he says that CVC-OEI is the rubric for helping design good online courses.
Oh, you must have went to your session, Sue. Yeah, so it is everywhere, everything all at once. And know it or not, we actually do have a multiverse going on right now because our online courses are available to any community college student in the state right now. They're out there. And in fact, we do have students from other colleges enrolled in our classes right now. I'll show you some numbers. And then our students are also taking classes at other colleges. So pretty exciting time for them. Have you guys seen the movie? You guys seen the movie? Well, there's two. It's a really good movie, but the husband and wife team, the husband, Wayman, is very optimistic. And even when bad things happen, he just kind of goes with the flow and it doesn't bring him down. His wife, Evelyn, is more that fear. I've got to control everything. This is awful. Same situations, but different reactions. And we can choose how to react, right? So I think that's part of the motive of the movie. So similar to ChatGPT, which was the topic of the session right before this one, it's here, right? And so how do we react to it? Do we go by Wayman or we go by Evelyn? Same thing with CVC-OEI. We are not in this alone though. We are one of 43 community colleges out of 115 that are open in the exchange. And I'll explain more of what I mean by that. So to get started, I'm going to share with you what I anticipate that we're going to talk about in this session. And I do welcome questions at any time. And Sue's monitoring the chat for that. So what are we going to look at today? Well, we're going to help define CVC-OEI, and I have a hard time summarizing it too. It is everything everywhere, all at one time. But Fresno City College has a long history with CVC-OEI. That's California Virtual Campus Online Education Initiative, more acronyms. But the two definitions that we really need to hold on to are whether we're talking about Fresno City as a home college or we're talking about Fresno City as a teaching college. And I'll explain more about that. So we do have a long history. As I said, we've been a home college since 2017. People who've been around since then, including John and I, it was bad time. It was a bad time back then. Talk about technology not working, but we gave it a valiant effort, but it just didn't perform and provide what was intended for students. So there was a lot of growing to do. And that's where they're at today, which is pretty amazing. We just became a teaching college in April of this year. So I'll explain what those two mean. This is about student-centered cross-enrollment. And it is all about the student. So as we're going through these things and thinking about the benefits of CVC-OEI and all the other things that go with it, try to focus on that student's perspective. I'm going to use an example of two students to help us along here, because that's always a good view to come from, right? Because I don't have that as a student. And then we're going to look at the ecosystem at Fresno City College. Does anyone know what I mean by an ecosystem at the college for students? Need somebody from geography, geology, biology. No. Does somebody online have a suggestion?
Yeah.
That you want to share? So an ecosystem refers to the life cycle of a student here at the college, right? The life cycle of their academic pursuits here at the college. So a part of that ecosystem that helps support students is everything, right? When you think about the number of contact points that a student has before they even get into your class, and then after, or even during, and then after to complete their goals and move on, there's a lot of us having contact with the students, and they need those services. So the online ecosystem basically means that we have a virtual. Yes, we do. A virtual college online to support students who are not here on campus. So it should be an equitable environment to where if you're not on campus, you can still have access to the same support and services when you're online. Now that gets a little more complicated when you have students from other colleges, and our students are at other colleges. And to be honest, we have some of those details to work out as far as our experience and how we're going to manage that and learn from the faculty as they're working with the students in these different locations. But we'll get to that. The fact is that COVID-19 erased geographical boundaries, right? I mean, for the most part, our students lived around here. But now that COVID has changed and there's more and more online courses and CVC-OEI exists, students are not limited by geography. They do not have to be physically near Oxnard College to take, specialized class there. And our students likewise have the opportunity to have other students from other colleges in their classes. So we are not limited by that. In fact, everybody has the potential to be a Fresno City College student. Isn't that great? And then we're going to have you look at the catalog of CVC and the exchange and see if you can find your class. Then you'll be able to see all of the different search parameters that you can put in there and look at that from a student's perspective. There's a lot of possibility to search in there. All 115 colleges, their online classes are in cvc.edu for the search. The only ones that are teaching colleges like we are, a student can go in and find a course, click on it, add it to their cart, enroll, and that's it. It's done. That's pretty amazing. It is like they consulted with Amazon to kind of get that experience to see how they could make that happen. It is so easy. And I say that from firsthand experience because there is a student yesterday that went and logged in, was looking for another class in their schedule, has taken all the classes that are in their major, but wanted something a little bit different. So they're a crim major and they found a course on forensic accounting. We don't offer that class. He's super excited about taking it. It starts in the second back 9 of the classes. It does not start on the same day as our back 9 though. You know how all colleges, they have different start dates. Some have 6-week, 8-week, 9-week, who knows? You know, like there's so many different flavors of course offerings. So you can search by that as well. And then another student who went into the exchange, he's a bioscience major, and the classes for the major, they fill up really quickly, and we just have a few of them. You know, it's not like we don't offer them, we do, there's just not a lot of sections. So they fill up very quickly. So in order to keep on his path to complete his academic goals in 2 years, he found a course on there that will fit into his academic goals without holding him back. So that's pretty exciting.
Jody, I had a comment in the chat here. Online students are limited because they cannot attend all office hours because only 20% of office hours can be held online for online classes. 80% of the office hours have to be on campus. That was just a comment.
Yeah, I don't know about those details. I've seen instructors that offer like by appointment. I don't think you have to accommodate different time zones or, you know, places in the world because we can't have international students, but hopefully there's a way to mitigate that, to offer that support for students. But yeah, I think it's one of the things you got to figure out as you're managing your class. Fair enough. Okay. So what's next? We're going to look at what we're going to do, what we can do as a college to capitalize on where we're at right now. As I said, we're one of 44 colleges who have this open door, right? We're our open door of Fresno City. Come on in, take one of our amazing classes, right? One of 44. As you get more and more colleges who are in the exchange, there's more and more choices that students have. And so we'll have to work at how do we market our courses too? How do we make sure that our students know that first and foremost, we have really great classes here? And then how do we help students get that one missing piece that they may need to get on their way? So as I said, home college, teaching college is 50-50 shot sometimes for me. I think I'm getting better after doing this presentation this morning too. It might be intuitive for me, I'm not sure. But think of it as a home college is where your home is, right? Our students who have set up their homes here, we're their home college, Fresno City is. However, we open our doors to teach other students from other colleges that leave those homes and come here, and we'll teach them. Same in the reverse order. So the other colleges that are home colleges, say like Oxnard College, right? They are a teaching college for our students. This graphic I really like because, as I mentioned, CVC and OEI have been around since 2014, is how long they've been trying to reach their goals and make this a reality. It has not been easy. And I say that as a person who's been involved with it since 2014, before I came here. The tech side of us, the tech nerds, we think about how all of this works in the background. You know, that whole adding to the cart, checking out. And then for that student, their fees are combined, their financial aid is combined. They have one Canvas dashboard that the Oxnard class and the Fresno City class and the Madera class are on. Like to comprehend how all of that happens in the back end is just, it makes our brains hurt, but it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Question coming through the chat here. So how does this relate to load and FTE? Does the home college get all the FTE?
Wow, that sounds like a non-faculty question, but I like it. How do we get paid? It is a great question. And the answer is that the, whoever has the student in their class, right? So when our students at Oxnard, Oxnard gets the credit for that student being a seat in their class. However, once that student graduates or accomplishes their goal, we get the credit for that. And as you may be aware that colleges their funding is being based on success of students and completion of students. So I hope that answered the question. This is also intended to be an exchange. It should be pretty even, but we'll have to wait and see. I'll share the numbers with you where we're at right now, but there's a lot of factors that go into a student's choice of a class and certain parameters that favor them. And so knowing those, we can work with them if that's what we choose, right? So it is a student-centered exchange that they're calling it. It used to be back in 2017, it was a college-centered model, meaning that the colleges were really driving the exchange. And it was based on those questions about who gets the credit and who gets paid for that student. Those are conversations that were driven by colleges way back in 2015, 2016. And the little colleges were very much fearful of what this would mean for them. Because they couldn't offer as much of a variety of courses. At the same time, though, as it started rolling along, you had some colleges, small colleges, are like, man, we can't offer this class because we can't get enough students in it. And maybe some of you have those kind of classes where it's not going to make because it's a specialized course and I can only get a few students, they're going to cancel it. This is the way that you can get more students in that class and be able to offer it. So they started experiencing that as well. So there's been a lot that has changed since the beginnings of the CVC-OEI, and now it's called the student-centered model, because what you have here is that it's all about what the student needs. I think that we've met the needs of the colleges through all those early conversations, but now the main focus is on the students. How do we help them cut down the time of 6 years to get an AA or an AS? Because that's on average before COVID what it was taking. I don't know about you, but I got through in 3 years for my AA, and that seemed like a long time. Can you imagine being determined for 6 years and living that kind of student life just to get an AA, and now what? Now, the reasons for them taking so long, there's multi-factors, right? But the ones that CVC-OEI wanted to lift were the ones that you can't get that last class to complete your degree. You know, it's just not available. It was offered in that creative enrollment management where it's only offered in the fall and I need the class in the spring. So it was meant to fill that to get them through their academic goals more quickly. And it is having that impact. Offering online classes too is definitely an equity issue. Students who could not normally come to campus and not earn any college degree have the flexibility to be able to take online courses and achieve their academic goals. Now, I think there's a lot of conversation that is based on all or nothing, right? There's this fear, this Evelyn fear, that students are going to take all online classes and they're not going to come to campus anymore. If you look at the research, the evidence-based data, most students do not want to go fully online. Look at COVID. They don't want to do it, right? And I think our responsibility is to offer them the option so they can choose. It's not us paternalistically saying, oh, you must take this class face to face or you don't get it. That's not student-centered. So I'll give you a couple of examples of my own children. One of them, I call him our COVID student because he became a student in the summer of 2020. And he took one class in that summer. And then as he's still here, this is his last semester. As he moved along, he was really excited when we started coming back in person because he felt that taking English and math online were not for him. He needed to go to class and engage with that material. So he did just that when we came fully back, and he got A's in both of those classes. He worked really hard and he still said, I couldn't have done this online. But if he had to, he would have had the option. But he chose that route because he knew what was best for himself, not us prescribing what was best for him. And he's taken a lot of different classes, different combinations, hybrid, online, fully online and fully in person. My other son is just getting his schedule set. He's new. So there's not a lot of classes for him. He's like last on the list to be able to choose classes. And he ended up filling up his schedule with chemistry and math. And those are big unit classes. So he'd have a lot of room left in his schedule. So he plugged in an online class that meets his degree requirements. He said, I would rather take it in person, but if I have to take it online, I will. Now, if he has to, he shouldn't be feeling like he's, taking a less than class. Online classes that are well designed and taught by faculty who embrace the adult learning theory that goes into how you design your course and how you teach it, then it can be a really great experience. But we're still moving ahead there. On the exchange, there's live seat counts. And then there's the price based on units and fees for each of the courses. And they're different at different colleges. And you'll get to see that live. There's also term dates that are listed. And that's where you see, oh my gosh, all the different start dates and end dates and census dates. I hope that we do a really good job of communicating that to students. That you have these classes that will start at different times. And then also on the exchange, you have both asynchronous and synchronous online classes. So you can have both on there. But that schedule is really important. If it's listed as an asynchronous class, no in-class meetings, that's extremely important that you don't change it up on them once they start attending class, because they're balancing their schedule at other colleges too. But there is both. I already mentioned it allows flexible scheduling for students. And then what makes students successful is that ecosystem. So we have these wraparound services to support students online. And some of these are provided by CVC and the Chancellor's Office. The Chancellor's Office actually funds CVC-OEI. And then our college has adopted the virtual hub for students. We created that so that online students would have that one place to go and be able to get the help that they need. And that was drafted, I kid you not, we presented the idea in February of 2020, and we just had like a skeleton of what it might look like. And then when COVID changed everything, we spent like 72 hours straight getting it all set. We enrolled all of our students. They had one place for contact point, and it was really, really helpful. And now it continues today. It's become a part of our culture. And I'm really proud of the team and the faculty who worked on that. I already mentioned, I gave you an example of how it lists the delayed completion. When you look at the numbers that I'm going to share with you, I think we're going to see a change in the numbers simply based on the fact that the exchange closed today for our classes, but it remains open for other classes at other colleges. So if one of our students isn't able to get a class or decides to drop one, it's not for them, they don't have to be delayed. They can go into the exchange and find another class that that starts at a later time and continue on their way. It's pretty cool. And then of course, those high demand courses, there's more options for those. When you go through the search, you can search simply by zero textbook costs. So think about that as a student. I'm going to look for a fully online class, and I can search for just anything and everything, or I can just go buy zero cost textbooks. You know, which one would you choose? I can say as the parent of a child who's going through college, I'm like, no, you need to choose that one. It's the no cost textbooks. Because it pains me as a parent in the education, higher education sector to pay for those books. It really does. And especially if then they're not used at all by the teacher. That stings. So zero cost textbooks is really helping to shape the educational experience and the equitable experience of students. If you heard Sally Potter speak about the grants that are out there and all the money that's out there for adopting zero cost textbooks, we are discussing the idea about how, well, if you're redesigning your course, why not, if you're redesigning your course for OER, why not redesign it with the CVC-OEI rubric in mind too? It's possible. It's not easy. It's heavy lift. Zero cost is a heavy lift. There's a lot of collaboration on this campus though. People, you know, sharing is caring. And it's just terrific to see that. There's also another badge that you'll see in the exchange, and it's a quality reviewed badge. Now, what that means, and don't be offended if you don't have one, it takes a lot to earn it. And what it is that your course has been confirmed to align with the CVC-OEI course design rubric by 2 to 3 of your peers. So 2 to 3 of your peers, depending on what setup you have looked at the course and have checked off. I think Sue said there's 44 different sections of that rubric that they've agreed that they see it in there. The class is fully accessible, and therefore it gets the quality badge. That says to a student that you can be sure that this course has been thoughtfully designed. It's been taught a few times. You shouldn't expect the technology to get in the way. You know, it should be pretty easy to use. And that's something that can influence their choice. Now, how do you get that badge? Well, at Fresno City College, we do not have that system set up yet. It's called POCR, you know, like playing poker, the Peer Online Course Review. And you have reviewers. And it's something that we really need to get started at this college. And I'll tell you more about that. There's also the online tutoring badge, because students and community colleges need tutoring. And just because you're taking an online class doesn't mean that you should be kept from that service simply because you're not coming to campus. If you'll notice, even our tutoring center is making the hours open via Zoom for our own tutors. Now, we can't have tutors 24/7, 365 days a week here. If we could, we would. But we've had a Net Tutor. If you've seen that in Canvas, Net Tutor, we've had that for, wow, I think since 2016. It is provided by CVC-OEI, 500 hours. And I will tell you that we are the biggest user of Net Tutor in the entire state. And most of the time we have to buy more hours for our students. But they have every discipline that you can think of, English and math, very regularly available. And that is something that our students are taking advantage of. I spoke with our writing center coordinator the other day, and she said that they've seen an increase in the quality of that tutoring for writing. That's saying a lot, because 5 years ago, that is not what they were saying. So that's really encouraging. Just like anything new, right? It's not great out of the box, but it develops over time. This system, though, relies on faculty development. And we need to see more faculty-led groups on campus to figure out how do we want to do all this? You know, how do we want to support our peers and our students? Setting up poker, like local poker, is going to be a tremendous effort. Have you guys heard of At One? The professional, that's probably what you're referring to, huh?
What's that?
At One, like the training and workshops and stuff.
Well, I did that. I used to work at Fresno City College.
Oh,
So I did the at-one trainings and we had poker there, and poker is quite ridiculous. From what I remember, it's really hard.
yeah, it is pretty hard.
But for a good reason. You know?
Yes. Wow, Merced College, I'm sorry, I was just getting back. I was a full-time history professor there for 15 years
Okay.
before coming here. And I was their DE coordinator, and yeah, poker, huh?
Yeah.
So we need to really get that set up here. Clovis Community College worked over the summer and they got their approval to be a poker certified campus. Good for them. I'm really happy. That was probably really hard and I'm so glad that they earned it. But we're supposed to be first. Fresno first, you know, the whole holding up number one, we're supposed to be first. What that takes is for us to have our own poker reviewers and faculty who submit 3 different courses, and have our peers review them and confirm that they align to the rubric. Then we submit them to At One, and At One says, oh yeah, you guys did a good job. You are a certified campus now. Go forward and review your courses at home and add your own badges. So that's critical because nobody else does it anymore. It has to be a local process. It has to be. So we have some things to figure out there. The other thing I wanted to say is that the Canvas dashboard for that student who has an Oxnard, a Madera, and a Fresno City class, they're all on the same dashboard in Canvas. That's pretty sweet. And it's a pretty new development. So that means that a student doesn't have to log in to Oxnard 2 or Madera 2, right? It's just all right there on one dashboard. That makes it easier for students. Okay, so I tried to do this earlier when I did this presentation earlier and it didn't work. I really think it's going to work this time. It's just a brief video that shows you what CVC is all about.
The California community colleges are here to help you succeed in this time of transition. Your college has online tools and resources to help you access your classes, stay connected, and stay healthy. Every college is different, so check with your local campus to see what's available and how to get the resources you need. Other videos in this series will walk you through tools to help you access your online classes, available student support services, and health and wellness resources.
So brief. But it gives you a sense of what it means to have those all on the same dashboard. You get access to these quality courses. And to me, I honestly think that the quality of our courses is going to be incredibly appealing to students. My own children would go on Rate My Professor too and sort of correlate because they don't know who's at that college and I don't know who they are. And so they would correlate there. And the one that's forensic accounting, he got so excited because the reviews of that instructor were so positive, you know, about how you feel that you have a relationship with that instructor and how funny they are and how helpful and their feedback is immediate. I mean, it was just, it made me want to take the class. Yes, Sue.
Question in the chat here, is Clovis considered local and can Clovis poker our courses?
Oh, wow. That is a really good question and a super good idea. We have talked about that. And by we, I mean just a few people. This just speaks to the fact that we need faculty involvement. We need some sort of work group or some sort of committee to talk about that, because that's not a decision that I can make. I can advocate for whatever the faculty decide is the best course there. And maybe it would be. If I was at Little Madera and I was thinking about trying to get 3 courses through peer reviewed to become a certified campus, that's a heavy lift for them. To where here we already have like 10 courses of faculty are like, can we put mine through? I want to put mine through. I want to see. I think it's really good. Let's see. And so we're at a better advantage there, but we don't have the process set up. We have about 5 peer reviewers that are certified. Did you go through that? Can I put you down as a reviewer?
No, I can try. No, I never went through it. I just kind of looked at it and said,
It
that's a lot of work.
It is. But what we've seen about it in the faculty that have gone through it, they have been really positive. It's not just show and tell, like, oh, here's how I teach my course. You should teach it this way. It's set on that CVC-OEI rubric, which uses evidence-based research to guide how to design a course, and that student engagement and interaction and different assessments, and of course, accessibility. We know that that's a really heavy piece. In fact, at one, they used to certify courses, and they stopped doing it because after, in part, one of the reasons why they stopped doing it is because if they gave it the stamp that this course is accessible, right now when we look at it, you could add a video tomorrow that's not accessible, and all of a sudden the whole course is not accessible, right? So it's very important to teach faculty and provide them the tools that make accessibility very easy to implement. We've been looking at a tool like that that's also a translation tool and other things. And the district is looking at that, but we don't have it yet. Yeah. Hi.
Okay, 2 questions. The first one here, are classes still transcripted at the teaching college and students have to request official transcripts to get credit at their home college? Or are they working on a transcript sharing process or something to help streamline that?
Do we have somebody from A&R on there? I'm joking. But these are really good questions. And you know what? That is a person after my own heart, because I love details. I'm just that kind of personality too. I need to know how it's all going to work before I get started. And so love it or not, right? So yes, what happens is that our student, right, our home college student, they have to be enrolled at our home college and have a course here before they can add exchange courses to their schedule. They have to. And even then, they can only add up to 2 from other colleges. So that's another college-centered rule that they set in the beginning. So that student, when we're their home college, we're their home, right? So whatever classes they take, they go onto their home college transcript. They don't get distinguished as being at this college or that college. They go on one transcript. And we also have now an electronic transcript service that is helping to compile these things automatically. As I said, it's the tech nerd stuff in the background. But think about that. When the student adds the course to their schedule with the click of a button and says, yes, I'm requesting financial aid, great, you're enrolled. That happens so seamlessly because one of the things that held up students from they call it swirling, where a student, even in our own district, would take a class here and there and, wherever else they were going to take one from. That swirling, if a student of ours wanted to take that class at Oxnard before, they'd have to fill out a separate application and wait for that college to approve their residency, confirm their residency. And that would take up to 3 days. So by the time they enrolled and they had their eye on that class, it could have been filled by then. So there was ed code that was written that enables the home college to vouch for the residency of their own student. So that's how the student can just add it to their cart right now, doesn't have to wait 3 days, and can choose their schedule. That's pretty cool. So that student's records, then, if they are applying for financial aid, the home college is the one that pulls it all together and confirms those units over there. They confirm their census, that they're still in its census over there. And even though I can geek out on tech stuff, I have no idea how they deal with somebody who drops and needs a refund. I don't think that's one I don't even want to know, but that's the complexity of it. So yes.
The second question,
I think they're great questions, by the way. Thank you.
how many faculty members do we need to take the training course to become a poker school? I don't think it's based on the number of poker reviewers we have. We need to be established as a local poker.
Right. Yeah. So becoming that would be our next step. That would be our absolute next step. We have 5 people, I think, might be one more, who have become reviewers, and that is quite a process. Sue, you went through it, and Sue's got a master's in instructional design. And how was it, Sue?
It was wonderful, but I learned a lot taking the course, and everything. I learned more about the rubric and what it entails, but it is very intensive. It's not just a course that you're like, okay, yeah, I'll just finish it in a week or so. I believe these courses, when I took it, it was 5 weeks, but there were so many things that you had to do every week. So it's very intensive.
Now, if I had a peer reviewing my course, that makes me happy. That instills confidence to me that I'm going to give you my course and that you've been highly trained and you've actually calibrated with 2 or 3 other people, and you all look at my course and you come to the same conclusion on all those 44 points. That's some mad skills, actually. And just a little side note, when I was at Merced, the very first poker group was in 2014, and I was a member of that group. So then when we were reviewing courses, boy, it was laborious. And the ones that were the easiest to do were the ones that everything was good. Right? Oh, yeah, there's interaction, there's content presentation, there's support services, got it. The ones that are like, well, I don't know, I'm not sure if that counts, just like grading a paper, right? A really good paper, like, and then another paper that doesn't meet the rubric, you're like, okay, now this, what do I want to say here? That's encouraging, but also, asking them to fix it. That takes more time. So for us to develop local poker too, how do we prepare the faculty who are submitting their courses to the reviewers to where they're at that point where most of them are going to be like, oh yeah, of course it's there. You know what I'm saying? So there are recommendations. This is actually one of the areas where I'm okay that we weren't first because there's local poker at I think 20 other colleges. And they're just sharing how they did it and all the pains that they had. And we could just take that and go, oh, wow, that sounds really awful. Oh, this is how you do it now? Great, that's how we're going to do it. So the world of DE, and I've said this before, but the world of distance education prior to COVID, and ask anybody that was teaching online prior to that, we were a happy group. We were all teaching online because we wanted to. We were excited about it. We were sharing all these different ideas with conferences. We just, it was great. But we all felt really bad for folks that were shoved into it in COVID. I can't imagine converting your entire load of classes online without any experience and without much time. That was grossly unfair. But you know what? I think Fresno did a really, really good job. I'm sure Merced did too. But we did a really, really good job. And that's because we had dedicated faculty. We had experience in our department. And we were able to do things that were magical. However, some faculty have a bad taste in their mouth from that because it was traumatic. And believe it or not, there is a way to design courses that works, right? And you should know how to do that. As I said, she has a master's in instructional design, right? There's several different formulas you can apply to how you design a course and all that stuff. I don't know all that, but there's actually a way to do it. And teaching online has been around for decades. Lots of evidence-based research out there. It's not new. So I think there's a lot that we learned through that process. And a lot of folks who now enjoy teaching online and are sharing. OER is one of those examples. If you heard Sally was in my earlier presentation. I was able to kind of, drag her into co-presenting because I kept referring to her. But she said in the OER that, using the rubric is a really positive thing because of that it instills the equity and works really well with OER adoption. The fully supported ecosystem, I referred to that before. So these are the things that CVC-OEI does provide. It has changed over time. Before COVID, they were able to provide more services at no cost. And now that everybody's in it, they can't do that anymore. And they're really leaving that up to the autonomy of the colleges to choose digital tools that work for them. There's a couple of things they still provide, but they don't provide everything anymore. But the technology platform, access to online support and support for students, this institutional collaboration throughout the state of California, faculty support, and professional development. That technology platform is Canvas. When I was talking to my colleagues in other states during COVID, they were just so envious of us, including Merced, that we all had Canvas. In other states, they didn't have an adopted LMS. One of the early goals of CVC was to get all colleges to adopt Canvas because that's what's best for students. They don't have to learn another platform to go over here. But gosh, during COVID, it was traumatic for them too. Not only were they trying to learn statistics, but then they had to learn Excel or maybe Blackboard or maybe Google Classroom or maybe Teams. I don't know. It was all over the place. It was everywhere. So that kind of learning how to use technology or a tool, it takes a tax on the cognitive load of a student. So instead of focusing on, calculus, they're focusing on how do I get this damn Excel to work? And you all know what that's like. It takes away from your cognitive load to focus on the discipline. That's what that rubric provides too. It gets the technology out of the way and enables you to focus on the discipline expertise you have and your engagement with your students, instead of trying to chase down and teaching them how to use Excel. So Canvas was just renewed by the Chancellor's Office, a contract of 3 years. We were very glad about that. So they provide that to our college at no cost. They also provide a couple of other tools. If you use Canvas Studio, that has now been renewed for another 3 years. We were really worried about that one this year because it was only a year contract. And if it wasn't renewed, we're like, what are we going to do? And where will we come up with the money to pay for it? So I think we need some internal planning for if the contract doesn't get renewed. But that we can breathe a sigh of relief that we get 3 more years, but also at no cost. NetTutor, 500 hours, as I mentioned before. And then when we go over, we pay for more. We always go over. So they provide that. The online health and wellness. That's also available through the California Community Colleges. There's a link in our student hub for that. It's really quite robust for students. It is still, self-service, but there's a lot of contact points in there too that students can use. And then remote proctoring, that's another thing, love it or hate it. Students who are taking a class, let's say in one of our students who's taking a class at Lake Tahoe, right, and it requires proctoring. What does the student do? Well, depending on what the instructor has set up, they could go into the proctoring center and take the test like they normally would in that class. Or they can use AI proctoring, which we do have some licenses for that. There's several choices that faculty have. This was adopted way back in 2015 because it was encouraging math instructors to be confident that the academic integrity was sound to offer those classes online. And we had this proctoring network, where each college had a proctoring center. And I really, really want to encourage us at the state level to do that again because it really benefited students. So those are the wraparound services. Is there any questions? You guys you can ask questions too. They're online. They're getting all the love online and we're like, well, we're here too. This is my first high flex session, by the way. And I am enjoying the experience because there is no way that one instructor can teach, in my mind, online and in person and give everyone the same. You have to have an assistant. So tough. No questions? No questions? Yes. All righty. I can see some people shaking their head no. Thank you. So this is what the homepage looks like for the search, for the CVC.edu search for classes. And I'm going to invite you to have a look here in a second. But there's several things that you're faced with on the front page here, and that is to enter your home college. If you don't have one, it will encourage you to go and apply through CCC Apply to become a community college student, and then you choose your home college and you go from there. These other search buttons are general ed requirements, home college course name, because believe it or not, colleges call the same class something different. That was why the CID numbering came up, and those are courses that community college representatives and CSU and UC representatives have looked at the course outliner record and they're like, yep, that's exactly the same, CID. They still are not named the same. So in here, we have a help for students to negotiate with all those different titles. You can also search by keyword and by subject. Those were added in the last 2 years because people would go in and search for their own classes and they couldn't find them. So now to search for keywords, like in the case of the forensic accounting, he put in forensics, didn't know what would come up. And there was forensics anthropology and accounting, all kinds of other things. And I'm going to show you an example of that right here. So going to search for the class and putting in forensics, this class came up. And if you click on it, you'll see that the course description is there. That's the catalog description. And then right here is the transfer information right below that, where it says that this counts for CSU GED in social sciences at Fresno City. It counts for GETSI 4A for anthropology and archaeology, and also CSU GED1 anthropology and archaeology at Fresno City. So that just means that when it's on that student's transcript, right, that question before, it's gonna show us counting for that category. I like that it has that information about transferability, and I'm sure students do too. I don't know if you did, but I ended up with a bunch of classes that I didn't even need for transfer that I paid for when I was a college student. And that delays your completion too. And it sops your wallet. So that is really helpful information. There's also 2 badges there. I know you probably can't see it well in the back there, but there's a badge for online tutoring and there's that quality reviewed badge. Also, the tuition and fees for that one class is $138. And then if you were to scroll down more, you would see more information here, including the live seat count. Yesterday, there were still 21 seats available in this class that starts on August 14th. It says that the online format is asynchronous. And you can choose to add that class, that blue button, and you add it, you accept it, and you're enrolled. It's really amazing. Now for the numbers. This is the exciting part. Okay, so what has the impact been so far? So our virtual doors opened in March. And there was a little bit of activity in there. If you look at the data dashboards, there's a lot of information in there. So I tried to pull out just what would be the most contextual and relatable to. But I admit I'm still working with a lot of that data because it's a little bit muddy. Because you can see here, I noted that the interaction with the exchange and Fresno City College during that time has been 1,263 contact points that were either a student who is at our college as a home or a teaching college that was looking at our classes. So that's the number of contact points in the search that included Fresno City. I think that's a pretty high number. We haven't advertised it. We need to develop a web page and provide more information to students, but we are just so new into this. But when you look at the counts here, Fresno as the teaching college, that means students from other colleges looking at our classes. Those are the numbers that you see per semester. Now, the spring number is because we opened it up so late. So that's kind of doesn't really matter. But look at that summer number. I found that to be incredibly high, 498 contact points looking for summer classes at our school. On the reverse side, for students looking at other colleges, our students who want to leave home and go and try a class at another institution, those numbers are really low. I think they're very low. Like as far as a real exchange, an even exchange, that is not what we're seeing students explore right now. Lots of factors that go into that. I imagine some of them I probably can't even think of. But as this grows and more colleges open those virtual doors, we're going to see higher numbers of students getting an opportunity to take a class that fits into their academic goals. So what about enrollment? How many of these students converted to enrollment? There's all of these different categories for students. Including, that they're validated and registered. That's the one that counts. There's others that dropped, didn't meet the prerequisite. And in looking at all those categories, I find it really curious that the system notes all of those different points. Some of the students in there are our own students looking at our own school. So the numbers there are a little bit fuzzy because they're our own students at this home college looking at us as a teaching college. Then there's some students who are in there like 3 times looking at the same class. I don't know what they're doing. They were trying a different address or trying some, I don't know. I don't have all those drilled down details, but what I do have are the most searched courses. Now we can use this information to our benefit. So you see here that the most searched for courses in spring or summer and fall, Fresno as the teaching college, like students from other colleges looking at our classes, looking at our catalog. You see the top 10 there. Is anybody surprised by those titles that students are looking at our college or those titles?
French is the only one that kind of throws me off.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I know the languages have taken a hit at colleges, you know, due to enrollment decline. You know, they start picking out or they start offering classes creatively, you know, to where it is spring only or fall only or once in the 2 years of the program, you know, just to hold on to that class. The other side is our students looking at other colleges. So what do you notice between the two of them?
Math is big.
And that we don't have enough faculty who can teach ethnic studies. The intro to ethnic studies is heavily impacted.
Yep, it sure is. But students need that to complete their goals, right?
Yeah.
So knowing that information, Alana, what could we do?
We could let our students know that this is an option, right? Because I know that I was at a flex this morning and the counselors were talking about the fact that there weren't enough of the intro to ethnic studies classes for the summer class. And could ethnic studies have more faculty teach that? And the ethnic studies folks said, we don't have any faculty to teach them over the summer. And so that we could let our students know about this as an option.
Right. And that's a really terrific analysis. They are in short supply, and when it's required, they're going here to try and find that course. And likewise, those top two, they're the same for both home and teaching college, pre-calculus and financial accounting. So why do you think why do you think those two are on both sides of the search?
I think they're prerequisites. So they need to take them, so they can take other classes.
Right. Yeah, that's probably a very strong reason, right? Those are required classes or just ones that are incredibly popular. Do you think there are a lot of fully online opportunities for pre-calculus and financial accounting? No. So just because the students are searching for those courses, they're not finding them fully online. So as a college, we could look in that and go, oh, well, if we created 5 more Math 4Bs online that are quality reviewed and zero cost textbooks, we could fill those up as many as we offer. That's grabbing enrollment. And that's sharing our discipline expertise with those students. So there's a lot to digest here. And as I said, the rationale or try to explain what's happening here, it is just really fresh. So what actually did they enroll in? That's here, what they actually enrolled in summer and fall. Again, I just chose the top 10. At our college, as a teaching college though, that list was really long. And even if it was a one-off here and there, students are finding those online courses here at Fresno City, a high variety of them. But just looking at the top 10, Fresno City College students are finding Math 4B at other colleges for pre-calculus. And they're also finding financial accounting at other colleges. That's something to think about. At the same time, though, when you look at those top 3 over on our side, they're finding them here too. So is that an exchange? I don't know. Is it when they start, is it, I have zero cost textbooks maybe? I mean, I'd have to look at the data more closely, but it's just food for thought. So have a look at those of what students are actually converting their enrollment into. And then what our own students are looking for and finding. It is Chicano studies, you're right, Alana, Chicano studies, ethnic studies. And this list means that they're finding those at other colleges. So this information, look, you could go, yep, that's the way it is, or we could think about if we want to do something about that. I mean, our enrollment is doing great, but it just depends on, it gives us opportunities to make data-informed decisions, which I like those the best. So I want to invite you now to go to cvc.edu and put in the search. I bet you a lot of people online have already done this, huh? Yeah, and go and find your own class that's listed there. It has to be fully online, and there can be ones that are closed, because you can search by open enrollment. Alana, did you find yours? You're the person on my screen, so that's why I'm talking to you.
Yeah, no, I did find mine, and I was just saying that I wish I had. I'm relatively new to FCC, so I didn't know that our political science 2 class, and comparative as well, which should be me. I'll have to go look because I teach that online. I didn't know they were in there, and I didn't realize, I didn't know we were doing this, and so I didn't realize that students were having these multiple start dates that would confuse them. And that I could have been more attentive to that, because I think I had a student this summer who got dropped because she didn't, I sent out emails and reminders, but she had multiple start dates. She'd enrolled for my class through this. I added her back in, but then she didn't know how to do it, right? How to accept the enrollment back in. And so I guess I just wish I'd known, and I didn't know.
Yeah, and that's really why I proposed this flex session, was to start getting the conversation rolling, because we aren't really talking about it. There's just so many moving parts to it that we need more faculty involvement, including just the story you just shared, right? About having a student from another college in your class. How do you identify them? Their email address is going to be different if you looked. But then the questions that they're asking would make more sense, right? So how are you as a faculty member, as we go through this, adapting to this environment? Because if you send your students all a message about the football game on Friday, some of those students are going to be irrelevant. So I don't have an answer either about what do you do? Do you want to message them separately? Do you just curtail your messages to a certain way? I don't know. Lots of stuff to figure out, which makes it pretty exciting in my book. So we're almost out of time, right? 3:45. Just help me check. So what's next? I do want to encourage you, just like ChatGPT, to play with the search, right? And go in and click just by zero cost text. Click by asynchronous or synchronous. And look at it from that student's perspective, because they're going to choose courses based on their needs. And they should, right? They should. Online isn't going away. It can definitely be better. I think our institution and our faculty can do both really, really well, to where we could be number one in both areas. I really honestly believe that, because what we saw since COVID is 350 faculty since January 21 who have become fully DE certified on their, in our program. And they were not compensated for it. They did it because they care about their courses. They want them to be easier to teach. And that's so the technology gets out of the way and they can have that relationship with their students. And I know that we have set the groundwork for poker, that many of our classes should just stand up and get through that alignment. So when you do the search, our classes should come up first, and if you just do a general search, and then the next ones will be quality badged and zero cost text. The rest of them will go to the bottom.
Jody had a question in the chat. So is, for the CVC exchange, is it only our 100% here? And what about the hybrid, like if it's 5% in person, 95% online split, that would not exist?
No, it has to be 100% online. to where, a student in another location can satisfy all the requirements to complete that course. Yeah. Now, I've seen in the curriculum that 5% or so is for in-person testing, right? Or just the final. So if there was a way that could be fully online, but require, a proctored exam or something like that, that could work. But again, we need faculty to figure these things out. I can hypothesize all day, but I only know what I know. But that's not enough. And how we'll look too, as I said, I have 2 adult children who are going here. And so we've done some searches through there. That COVID student, my oldest son, who's the COVID student, he now is enrolled in an exchange course. He's the one that's in the forensic accounting. And I'm looking so forward to seeing what it's like, because it blew my mind how easy it was. And now to see them both on his dashboard, I'm like, can I look at that? It's just great to have a student. So where do we go next? We can go in several locations. We can go in separate directions, but part of getting Studio and Canvas for free and being in the exchange and opening those doors, that's not all out of the goodness of the Chancellor's office heart. They expect something in return. And when our Chancellor signed us up to be a part of this consortium, the commitment was that we have to have local poker. And we need to get on our way. Because those services and having Canvas and everything is great. And if we don't, let's be honest, we're going to get pushed to the bottom of that search. So we can capitalize on where we're at right now. And I truly believe that our faculty are in a good place to just step into the next, into that direction. So we're offering some support, as we usually do. Come and see us over in LI 141. We have one-on-one, or you can make an appointment for any help. We have workshops that are going to be focused on portions of the rubric. So you can do a hands-on with your own class. Now that you're, certified, where you just kind of, flew through it and did your best. Now starting to build on that and apply the rubric. We know that's a heavy lift too. But you're not out there on your own doing it. There's a lot of great peer faculty here. We're also setting up for the grade book. If any of you had your grades kicked back, the best way to start off is with a clean grade book and a clean attendance, and then you take it from there. Right? So we can help you with that. Please be sure to go into the virtual hub for faculty. We're going to post workshops and different things on a regular basis. Yeah, that's what that is. Okay. With that, I really want to thank you all for hanging out the afternoon with me. I know you probably have a gazillion other things you could be doing. I hope that you found this informative and just a conversation starter, because there's a lot of pieces that I said to fill in. Okay, so thank you in person. Thank you everyone online, and for Sue for managing the chat. Greatly appreciated. If there were unanswered questions in the chat, we'll have a look at them.